I want to just talk about Lord of the Rings real quick, Rings of Power, because I've had to think about this. Yeah. Um so some of you will like this opinion, some of you will not, but the show is fine. The show is fine. I watched it kind of almost begrudgingly because I start to get a little upset when I'm told it's going to be amazing before it comes out from, like, you know, people that Amazon definitely didn't pay. And they had a number of embarrassing and, like, kind of disastrous trailers and events for the show. And there's also a lot of weird promotional stuff that I was like, this doesn't look great and doesn't seem like Tolkien's writing. So I'm of two minds about the show, and I'm able to separate them. And truthfully, I thought there was some cool stuff in it. The two minds being, yeah, it's not really Tolkien. It feels like high-budget fan fiction. But Legolas going down a shield on stairs, shooting his arrows, yeah. So, I don't know. You're gonna have to go through the original trilogy and find every inconsistency, and I'm sure there's plenty. However, the original works really well for me because tonally, it feels like Tolkien's writing. It feels like a lot of care and attention was put into it, aside from the Legolas thing, which is just nonsense. The Hobbit movies are a different story. That's trash with some good stuff that it just turned into a huge bloated mess. So, to me, it's really hard to live up to the original trilogy. It's one of my favorite series of movies of all time. And The Hobbit was like, oh god, oh god, what's Legolas doing now? Why is he even in this so much? Oh god, there's a love plot? It's weird. The third movie is like 5 pages in the book. Or, you know, the Battle of the Five Armies was just a couple paragraphs or something. So anyway, I'm doing everything I can to avoid talking about Rings of Power, but people want to know. And, yeah, there was cool stuff seeing Middle-earth generated in a computer in the most beautiful way possible by thousands of VFX artists. Fantastic. I'm sure there were sets, and I'm sure they filmed in New Zealand as well. And you could kind of tell there's one scene where Elrond and someone are walking around a corner, and it's just like, oh, that looks like a video game. So some of the scenes look really good. Some of the best visuals I've seen. Some of it looks like, you know, not the best Vaseline smear. But, you know, there's some decent shots, and I mean, I'm no expert on camera stuff, but I know what looks good to me. So there's that as a positive. The music is wonderful. I really like the music. I liked seeing, you know, the dwarf home. I can't think of it. Durin. What's the name of it? I'm a Tolkien fan. I can't think of the name of... Khazad-dûm. Thank you. Dwarf home is the name of it. But it looked really cool, and I liked the scene with Elrond, even though I call him Felrond, because for me, Hugo Weaving was the perfect Elrond. I like this dude who plays Elrond. I think he's good. I actually really think that him and the dwarf, you know, Durin, Cockbeard, they were really good together, and there's some fun scenes. People have complained the show is slow. It is. People have complained that this show is kind of boring. Some of it is for me, too. I think it is kind of a boring show, in fact. And some of it lost my attention. I was wandering to my phone several times. I like Hot D better than I like the LOTR Ring ROP. Hot D being House of the Dragon, by the way. I'll be honest, I do like that show better. So, I'm not really sure how I feel about it, because here's the other thing, chat. It's only 2 episodes in. So, it's not the greatest travesty I've seen. I've seen worse travesties. And there's some entertaining stuff. And there's some stuff that I was hesitant about that's actually okay. I really don't like the haircuts. The elves, I know they're supposed to be different, man, because it's a different time, but the elves do not feel like the Tolkien elves that I had in my head. and they have like sick fades and like really like sick pumps and cool haircuts, and I'm like, huh? And it takes me out of it a little bit. And I do find the great value Walmart brand Lord of the Rings dialogue can also be a little bit Some great acting with some questionable Tolkienism dialogue. Maybe I'm, analyzing it too much, but also, if I'm going to talk about this show, I want it to be thorough. I'm not an expert. Sure, I've read the books. I like movies and TV, so I wanted to be honest with how I felt about it if I was going to talk about it. There's also rights issues where Christopher Tolkien dying, they were able to go ahead with it, but they couldn't do the Silmarillion, so they had to embellish from the appendices of Return of the King, and you can see that. That said, what I wanted to say was, of course people are going to be shitty about actors and characters being different than expected. But do not think for a single second that Amazon does not benefit from the discourse. They love it because it generates buzz, hype, discussion, articles. For me, I thought that a lot of that stuff was like the least egregious. I mean, it just felt kind of boring in spots more than anything. I don't mind if the actors are different than I expected, if they're good. But again, the lore is the lore, and the show is the show, and you have to just accept it. Or don't watch it. And that's kind of what Amazon is doing with their $1 billion show at this point in time. But I find it's weird to me that people hold Amazon as like a paragon of morality with this show, and fair critique kind of gets mixed up with bad faith critique, and then the waters get totally muddied, and it just becomes an exhausting nightmare mess of like, ugh. And then they're like deleting reviews from IMDb, and then, here's all these ones and then all these tens, and people haven't even seen the show, and people are like, well, why are they censoring, bro? And it's like, there's not even like words, it's just a 1 or a 10. It becomes exhausting, and I'm not even gonna go into that stuff more than I just did. So, as a Lord of the Rings fan, I have to treat this like fan fiction if I'm gonna continue watching it. And it is. That's exactly what it is. More fan fiction feeling than the original trilogy for me. But there are good things, and I'm curious to see where the stuff is going to go with the hobbits. I'm curious to see where the Forge is going to go. I want to, I get to see Middle Earth at least, and it's not it looks nice. And I found some of the storylines to be more compelling than others, of course. And I did find it funny that Galadriel jumps off near the edge of the world before Valinor, and then she's just like, well, I guess I'll just swim back across the ocean to Middle Earth. That's like if you were in like the Bermuda Triangle and you just like, I'll swim back to New York City from here. So, I mean, you have to turn your brain off. Maybe some people don't accept that. After Better Call Saul, no show is going to hit that level of detail, and this is a fantasy world, so it's whatever. Could have been worse, could have been better. It's only 2 episodes. I'm enjoying aspects of it. I hope those aspects get better, and the worse aspects continue to improve as well. But it's not bad. I think, maybe I'm not making it sound all that great. Maybe I sound like a fence sitter. But for me, things aren't just perfect or terrible. It's not a 10 or a 1. It's probably exactly in the middle somewhere for me right now. And again, I was totally scorned on Game of Thrones after that finale. I was like, I don't want to watch a prequel about the Targaryens. This thing is going to be so fucking lame. And I'm enjoying it a little bit more. But also, the bar was so low from the last couple seasons of Game of Thrones that watching like decent Game of Thrones is like, oh, this is nice. this is actually kind of well written-ish. And there's some cool stuff to look at and think about. And some of the characters are cool. The Hobbit wasn't great. In fact, it was downright embarrassing at times. But that trilogy looms large. And there's no way people are going to watch this without comparing it. So, you know, take the good with the bad. Don't watch it. Watch it. Do whatever you want to do. I don't really care. But I swear to God, if Legolas shows up and he starts, like, firing, like, multi-arrows, like Hawkeye from Marvel, I'm done. I'm just gonna burn my fucking books. The Silmarillion will be used as toilet paper. The Lord of the Rings trilogy will be used to roll fat fucking blunts of shireweed and South Farthing's finest tobacco. And I'm just gonna give it out. Whoever wants it. Anyway, I thought the choice of fisting in the show was very strange. And yes, I agree, Jeff. The Hobbit would have been great if it was 2 hours long and that's it. That's why I kind of want to see one of those alternate cuts that fans made where they're like, it's 2 hours of Hobbit, or 3 hours. It's one movie. That would have been fine. But, yeah, now we get full seasons of this Lord of the Rings show. Many seasons. So we'll see where it goes. I don't think I'll be talking about this in as much detail as I am now. Maybe in a couple years, we'll see. Yeah, so that's it. Okay. I'm gonna play the Alien game now. I've already wasted enough time on this shit. Thanks for listening, by the way. I appreciate you wanting to hear my opinions. I didn't even lose that many viewers talking about it, too. Thanks. Vin, I can't form an opinion if you don't give me yours. Well, opinions are like... onions? No, I was going to say like pee holes. You got to stab them with a toothpick to keep it open. All right, let's continue Destroy All Humans 2.